Hey kids, it's Captain Craig. Hope you're all having a fantastic week this week. You know, I haven't really heard the cicadas a lot this morning, so maybe we'll get lucky. And the chickens aren't being too bad either next door. Now, before we get started, someone asked me a question this week. They said, Captain Craig, do you know what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I said, that's a really good question. I tell you what, I'll order both of them from Amazon right now, and I will let you know next week. Now, speaking of what came first, today we're going to be reading from the Old Testament. It's going to be Genesis, and it's right at the beginning of the Bible. As a matter of fact, it starts something like this. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Now then, earth was formless. There was nothing there. It was just a blab. And it was dark, 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 dark. And God was hovering over it. And he said, let there be light. And it lit up. And God said, this is good. And he called the light day and the dark night. So you had morning and you had evening. And that was on the first day. Now, on the second day, God said, there's all this water everywhere, and there's no space between the water. So he said, you know what? Let's put a space between there. And we will call the water the sea, and everything above will be called the sky. And God said, this is good. And there was morning, and there was evening, and that was on the second day. Now, on the third day, God said, you know what? We need to put some area that separates the water. And he said, we will call that the land. And that land will have trees and flowers and bushes and all the plants, and those trees will make fruit. And God said, this is good. And there was morning and there was evening, and that was day 3. Now on day 4, he said, you know what? Let's put something up in the sky. Let's make something that lights everything up. We'll call that the sun. And at night, we'll put something so you can see. We'll call that the moon. And we'll fill the sky with stars. And God said, this is really good. And there was morning and there was evening. And that was on the 4th day. Now on the 5th day, he said, we've got these plants, we've got the land, we've got the water. You know what? Let's create some sea creatures. So he filled the seas with sea animals, and he filled the sky with birds. And he said to that, let's multiply and be plentiful. So there was lots of sea creatures, and there was lots of birds in the sky. And he said, this is good. And there was morning, and there was evening, and that was on the 5th day. Now, on the 6th day, he said, let the land produce living creatures. Not just the birds and all the sea creatures. He said, let's have livestock, let's have wild animals, and let's have little crawly things on the ground. And there was a lot of them. But then he said, who is going to take care of all of these creatures? And he said, let's make mankind in our own image and likeness. And guess what? He then created the male and the female. And he said to them, I give you seed-bearing trees and plants for you to eat. And he said, I'm going to give all the creatures and all of the other things around plants to eat. But you will rule over all of the living living creatures, all the animals, the birds, the fish, everything. And God said, this is good. And there was day, and there was evening, and that was on the sixth day. Now he looked back, and he said, what a beautiful array of things I have created. Heaven and earth were completed, and it was beautiful. So by the seventh day, God had finished with all the work he had wanted to get done. And so you know what he did? He rested. And he made the seventh day a holy day. And he said, we will relax and rest on the seventh day, for our work is all finished. So this week, I want you to think about that. You know, God created us to take care of all the other creatures on the earth, right? He wants you to do the same thing. So if you have a pet, like an animal, a dog, a cat, a fish, a turtle, whatever you have, always make sure you take care of your animals. Because guess what? God created you in his image. He wants you to take care of all the creatures, just like he asked you to do. So this week when you're praying, don't forget, before you start asking for anything, make sure that you first thank God for everything. God bless you all, and have a fantastic day.